What do you do? Hey, beautiful people. I hope you guys are well. Not even sure if my volume is correct. Hey, beautiful people. Hey, guys, well. It's one of those days. I'm gonna have a conversation with Paballo. Well, it's more of a book review conversation, depending on where it leads. So Paballo just joined. I'm literally in my pajamas because I had a rough 3 hours. Like, I don't even know what was going on in my life in that 3 hours. But let's see. I just got up. Paballo is not wearing a suit because I'll be so deeply embarrassed. Hey guys, well, thank God you're not wearing a suit, but you look better.
Hi, Jackie.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I am exhausted, but I am alive. I'm surviving.
Yeah, that's good.
Uh, I'm in my pajamas, and you're literally like made up.
Doing it for the gram.
You are literally made up. I just don't have the energy to do stuff for the gram. Like, I'm just like, okay, cool.
Yeah, it's understandable. You've had a long day.
Yeah, my day was quite long. And the only reason why I came to Instagram now is for you. Like, there's no other reason, honestly.
Thanks.
But goodness, funny enough that we're gonna have this bare conversation. So the last 30 minutes or so, for some reason, I was watching videos of some YouTubers, right?
Yes, yes.
And they were talking about their blesser situations.
Yeah.
And I'm like, my God, why are they normalizing this conversation as if it's an everyday thing? Like, it's like an everyday thing. I posted a couple of YouTubers that I saw, and I'm like, this girl is so young, and she is.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to really say, if it's really loitering or she's just having fun or experimenting. I have no idea, but yeah.
Yeah, I think it's the realities, hey? Like, I don't know. Do people find it glamorous, maybe? That lifestyle, quick cash.
I don't know if we could say it's glamorous. I just feel like people are really very inquisitive. As much as they are aware of the dangers, they are literally very inquisitive.
Yeah.
Um, because in the one video, the girl said, yo, I was so scared to get into his car. I thought that I was gonna get human trafficked. She
I
says
saw
it.
that. Yeah. Yeah,
And
yeah, I
then
saw that.
and then she quickly now jumps onto the fact that, oh well, I was safe, so it's fine. I sent my friend my location, so I think I was safe. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, my goodness, that's not a guarantee of safety. A guarantee of safety is not to get into a stranger's car. That's a guarantee. You can't
Yeah,
say just because you sent a location, you are
yeah.
safe. You can't say
I,
that.
yeah, yeah.
So are you gonna just hope and pray that your friend eventually sends the location to the police, which could take hours and days for them to locate you? Is that what you're bridging your safety on?
I it's so tricky, because I don't know, maybe it's like that impulsiveness in a person, or you've seen someone's life look so glamorous on social media and you think, you know what, I really want to look like that. And so
Mm.
maybe we take this risk and see how far it takes me, you know. I'll send
Yeah.
that and hope for the better. And hopefully for her it turned out well. I don't know. I don't know what goes into someone's mind when they take such decisions. I've never been in that situation, but I know a lot of people just take those risks and just live for the moment and see how life takes them.
Okay. Oh well. It is what it is, I guess.
Yeah.
So Um, how I bumped into your Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm just most probably like a social media freak. I look at things that are aligned to what I have on my social media platforms.
Mm-hmm.
And then I sort of bumped into what you do online, with the books and stuff.
Yes.
So just to give people a background, would you like to introduce yourself so they know who you are, what you do on social media?
Yeah, sure. Okay. So my name is Paballo Seipei. I am a bookstagrammer, and what I do is I read and review books. I am also on YouTube, which is very big when it comes to reviewing books. And what we do is basically just buy books and we review them. We give them stars on Goodreads, and we push these conversations online for these books that have been published. That's basically
Perfect. So
yeah.
what are we talking about today? I don't know how many questions you have for me and how much time you need. And I think in between, obviously, we'll read people's comments and see what they think.
Yes, yes.
Um, so I've got my book in front of me. So I don't know if you've got yours. I've got mine. I'm not sure if you perfect. She's got.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um. Okay.
So
Let me. Can
I'm
I read?
literally gonna let you guide the conversation because obviously you might have questions for me. So I'm literally gonna be your bouncing board.
Yes. Yes.
Um, I'll just respond is and
Like,
when.
hello, friends. Hello.
Hi guys, hi guys, hi guys, hi guys.
Okay. So let me just read something for you.
Okay, okay.
Cool. I really love this, and this is like the last page or of the story.
The
So
very last page.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and it reads: As the sun shone on her naked body, her neighbors walked by in shock and disbelief. What had been painted as an empress and star had fallen. What was once whole was now shattered. Her innocence stolen by the city. Her heart lost to unavailable men. Her love given to money. Her truth stolen by greed. Her life wasted in hope. Her dreams eroded by illusions. Her passion in the hands of those with false power. Her inner voice silenced by the world's perceptions. Her sweet tooth sinking in the luxuries of a rotten society. Her faith in God misplaced by fear. I really love that.
Oh my goodness. A lot of people hated the ending of that specific book that you're holding. Um, sure.
I think I know why. Because maybe they didn't think there would be another book, you
There
know?
wasn't gonna be. There wasn't gonna be.
What
I was
happened?
actually really done. No, there wasn't
You know,
gonna be.
maybe that's what made people very mad because yeah, we really wanted to know more, but I really loved that ending. It was so poetic.
Oh my goodness. Thank you. Thank you. I
Yeah.
just don't even know because when I wrote that chapter, I just said, okay, this is the end of it. I just don't want to talk about this thing. I don't want to write about it. I'm just tired.
Yeah.
Um, Little did I know that the response would be so magnetic. Like there was a ripple effect of the story on everyone, and everyone wanted more. And I was like, I don't have more. I really, there was no plan to write
Yeah.
the second book. There was really no plan. Um, and I won't say I had like material stashed away somewhere or
Yeah.
chapters archived somewhere. There was none. So I had to continue the story from scratch. Um, so I do understand the frustration because when I reread the book and I'm like, damn, you could have completed this book
Yeah.
completely and made it bigger. But I feel like when I was writing it, I was just emotionally distraught. I had no desire to tell the story as it is.
Yeah.
I said what I wanted to say, and that was the end of it. I didn't really think that people would want more out of it.
Yeah.
Um, so that last piece was literally me just saying, "Okay, I'm done." So I'm glad you think it's poetic. I don't think that was the intention, but thank you.
I really loved it. And you know what? I think it was a blessing in disguise for you to live it as it was, you know? Because look now, how many books do we have after this one?
How many? Three? That's
It's
including I tweet what I like, right? So in the series there's three books, so there's two after. So two.
so you see how great that turned out.
Yeah, it did. It actually really worked.
Yeah. So I have like a few questions.
Sure.
And one of the questions that my friends wanted to ask was what really inspired to come up with this book? And I think maybe that's like a cliche question for you. You've heard that question a lot, but you know, you have new readers every day. So I think they
Yes.
would love to know what really inspired you to come up with this book, because I really love it. I literally read this book twice, and I didn't.
Twice.
Yes,
You guys
yes.
like torturing yourselves, huh?
No, it has to be the love for reading, and even those people who don't like to read, they finish this book because it's
They
that good.
do. They do.
Yeah,
I do get people who say um they have never read a novel in their lives. They are more into academic work or self-help books or biographies. And
yeah,
I mean, it's an honor and a privilege to hear people say that. It's a huge compliment as a writer, more especially because it was my first professional attempt at writing a book. So when somebody says that, it's great affirmation that I'm in the right direction, and I do really appreciate it. Um, so to answer your question, I don't think I was inspired by anything,
mm,
honestly, because I didn't write Bear the Bliss's Game with the intention of publishing it. It was a diary.
yeah,
It was my personal diary. It's just that I felt like if I, well, now this is later on leading towards the official manuscript, where in the beginning in the diary, I had written people's real names and stuff like that, you know, the extra details. And then
yeah,
when you got to the manuscript side, I was then advised to change the names because it was going to get published.
yeah,
Um, and then at that point, that's when I made the decision to change one or two other things that would directly implicate people, um, and people's homes, home addresses, car registrations, real names,
yeah,
certain descriptives that would lead to people being identified quicker or easier.
mm,
But honestly speaking, Bear the Bless's Game was not supposed to be a book. I wrote it from a place of deep sadness. I was very confused. I was literally emotionally drained. I was financially drained. I was honestly at my lowest, and I was just trying to find the core of my pain. That's
yeah,
why that's why the story itself starts off with my childhood, how I grew up, how I perceived my family to be like, the boys I liked,
yeah,
the men I dated, my high school years in boarding school, my friendships with my friends, how those friendships blossomed and how others just eroded. Um, Also main structural events that changed my life completely.
mm,
Of course, as I was writing, there are other scenarios that I just decided to drop out, and I just felt like they were not going to be relevant for the actual purpose of the book.
yeah,
So there are years that were chopped off, scenes that were chopped off, other friends were not mentioned. I mean, there's only one specific friend that I speak of throughout the book series, which is Dintle
Yes, yes.
Gente.
Yeah.
And then other friends that I still have to this day that were also part of the story I omitted because I just felt like they don't grow the story to where it's supposed to go, and
Yes.
they really won't understand why I included them in the story. And I also just felt like they were irrelevant.
Yes, yes.
Um, but they still good friends of mine. I still speak to them. But Bear the Bliss's game was not designed to be a book. It was a diary that I personally kept. Then eventually, at some point, when I got tired of writing and I felt like I'm hitting a block,
Mm,
I I was then advised to go to a psychologist to get like some kind of therapy because I felt like I'm speaking to myself. I need
yeah.
somebody to, and I needed somebody who will not judge me as a person, but who would
Yes,
listen and advise me accordingly at the time. So this
yeah.
is now most probably like 2014, 2015, around that time.
Mm,
Um, and then throughout my sessions with the therapist, she started saying, listen, I don't think we're getting anywhere with the conversations because you're very closed off, you're not speaking, you're not very open with things, and
yeah.
it might come across as if you're being dishonest because you just closed off. So I'm not really getting what I'm supposed to get out of you because this is a session and I don't feel like I'm having an actual conversation with you. Is there
Yeah.
another way we can converse where I'm able to speak to you? Are you comfortable maybe if we took a walk or something like that? And I said, no, I don't want to be in a public space. I just don't
Yeah.
want to be outside.
Yeah.
And then eventually at some point she invited me to her house and she said, okay, fine, I've got a garden. Maybe you'd be comfortable sitting at my house and speaking in a garden instead of a professional office.
Mm,
And I said, yeah, maybe a garden. But funny enough, on that specific day, she was late, and I was sitting in the garden. Her helper let me in. I sat in the garden and I started writing in this diary. And I had two other diaries in my little bag. When she
mm,
arrived, she saw the diaries and said, "Okay, what is this?" And I said, "Well, it's just my thoughts and my feelings about life and things." And she said, "Can I read one page at least so that we can discuss the page if you're
yeah.
comfortable?"
Yeah.
At first, I was very apprehensive and I said no. But throughout the day, eventually I gave her the first couple of well, not chapters, but pages.
Yes,
And
yes.
she said, wow, whose life story is this? Because I feel
Yes,
like I'm reading a book. And I said, oh, well, it's not really a life story. It's just my journal.
yes,
And she
yes.
said, no, it reads like a story. And I'm like, no, I didn't think so. And And then throughout this therapy sessions, what happened was now I would send her what I've written and then we would discuss it. So, for an example, I would send her what is a chapter now, which is chapter 1 of Bear the Blesses Game. And then we would discuss how I saw my mom get shot and stuff like that. And then we will unpack it, what childhood trauma is like, and so forth and so forth. And I would send her the rape scene. I would send her, like, throughout the whole thing, throughout the whole process, that's how she read. It was not even a manuscript, but that's how she read my journal to find a way to counsel me. So that's how the book came about completely. When we got to a point where we were like, okay, let's put this thing together and see if we can't submit it for a proper manuscript direction to see if it can really be a book because it reads like a book.
Mm,
It took a couple of months for us to get there because sometimes I would be tired. I didn't want to speak about it anymore. I'd be like, ah, I just feel like we have spoken about this so many times. I don't want people now to find out what my life story is like. So I don't want people in my business. I mean, I don't
yes.
want to speak to you. Imagine now having 100 people. I didn't even think it would lead up to thousands. I just thought like 100 would be like the biggest milestone.
Yeah.
So that's where the book comes from.
Sure. That's like it's okay. There's this chapter in the book where Team advises Treasure to write something. Maybe he didn't say a book, but he said a diary, like you're mentioning now. Is that where that came from, or was it after when you were like, I'm done with this? How?
Remember I wrote the book right after I left him,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
most probably those conversations were still in my head somehow. I don't know, because you don't know what is stored in your subconscious mind for a long time. You don't know. So most probably that would have been one of the triggers. I can't dispute that. It could have been. Could have
Yeah.
been. Yeah.
Okay. Um. Okay. So now that people know, because there was a speculation to whether this book was fiction or whether this book was written with real life events. And now that you've cleared that for everyone, I think, especially the ones that wanted to ask that question, because a lot of people were like, is this a true story, or is this just fiction? And I think you've basically answered that question for them.
Can I just explain it correctly
Yes,
for those who also don't know or who have not heard me say it?
yes, yes.
So, guys, when books are classified as fiction, it's because it's not written as a biography. Number
Yeah,
one. Number two, a lot of actual details are omitted purposefully to protect other people. And then another reason is I personally wanted to remove myself from the story so that other people learn from it without judgment,
yeah,
without perceptions, without idolizing who I am now. I want them just to read the story and learn from just the life lessons in the story. And I also wanted to make space for my own creative freedom should there be more books leading up to what I've created now.
yes,
So I just said I don't want to be I remember having this conversation with my lawyer, and she said, okay, these are the steps we need to take. And I said, I don't want to I don't want all my books to be based on me going forward. So I will not necessarily now have my name on a book cover and I'll also write my actual name in the story. It does not make sense. Do you
yeah,
understand?
yeah,
Imagine if J.K. Rowling wrote about J.K. Rowling. Even though the story is about her, it
yeah,
just takes away the fun in creative freedom
yes,
as well.
yes,
So there were a lot of things that um, got me to the decision of making it more fiction than it being a biography. Then also I'm able to judge myself as a writer or judge the character who plays me instead of being one-sided. For an
yes,
example, if Treasure is stupid in the book, she's really just dumb. If she does dumb shit, then she really does dumb shit. I will not say, oh my God, I'm writing about myself, so I'm going to omit the part where I'm doing a blowjob because it's so
yes,
uncomfortable.
yeah,
You understand? I'm going
yeah,
to omit the part where I'm vomiting because it's so unladylike. Then people will judge me and say, oh my God, she was vomiting, she was doing this in the club. Do you understand? So it gives me the freedom to judge all characters without choosing a favorite.
yeah,
So a lot
yeah,
of people don't understand that when it comes to stories like mine or writing stories like mine, is that yes, the story is based on me and a couple of friends, but I
yeah,
had the creative freedom of changing things that I felt like they were not relevant for the story. They were too personal for people who are also involved in the story. They will take away the message of the story to protect other people's identities. I mean, I speak about my parents, my siblings, my friends, and what, and they were not at the time, they had not given consent to be in the book. So that alone, I mean, how many lawsuits would I have encountered from all the characters in the book, you know?
yeah,
Um, also, just to also be able to write freely without saying, oh, I'm going to omit that. Oh,
yeah,
that I'm going to delete that. I'm going to do that. I mean,
yeah,
you saw for yourself how raw and explicit the book is. And for me to be able to do that, I need to personally remove myself from the story and create characters so that I can openly judge everyone
yes,
without now choosing a favorite.
yeah. You did it so beautifully, you know. And when you read it, well, me personally, when I read it, I didn't even judge her, you know, because of in the beginning we get to see her background, you know, and it just unfolds like that. We can tell, you know, this is how things came about. You know, she just didn't throw everything to us, and that's how beautiful it was. It was just events unfolding like that, and I really love that so much because in the
Thank
beginning,
you. Thank you.
yeah, we learned that, you know, the family is troubled. I mean, the father shooting the mom in front of the kids already, that's traumatic to the kids, you
Yeah.
know. And
Yeah.
when she decides in the end that okay, this is the life that I want for myself, you can't really judge her because you know she wants to change the situation she was in, you know. And unfortunately it didn't come out really nice for her, but it was really eye-opening. And i don't I don't really judge her. I don't really judge her, and I know a lot of people who read the book don't really judge her.
No,
I
they
don't.
actually don't. It's just that I didn't want to judge myself and
Yes.
say, okay, you said this about Treasure, but are you really saying that to yourself? It's like looking at yourself in a mirror and judging yourself. So that was one decision that I really wanted to be clear with, just from a writing perspective, to say, if you're going to write your real name, will you be able to judge yourself? And I
Mm,
said, no.
mm,
I need to write it as if it were somebody else so I can pinpoint all the flaws and all the funny stuff and all the good stuff and all the. I mean, for an example, Treasure is so flawed. She's
mm,
so flawed. She's so naive, very accepting, unjudgmental. She just throws herself in situations without no sense of um, observation or analysis or questioning. Um, she's just like a stumbling ball. You just push the ball around, it goes over and over to the next scene, to the next challenge or life lesson, and it's like a domino effect. But yet she's so lovable. And you ask yourself, why do you guys love this girl so much when she's so dumb?
yeah,
um,
yeah,
so I wanted to do that with all the characters. For an example, a Daphne, a Tim Morgan. I mean, girls love Tim Morgan. They worship him. And I'm like, he is the most evil guy in the series, but you guys worship him. Like,
yeah,
yeah, because he's got class, he's got money, he's got this, he's
yeah,
very, you know, they love them for different reasons. And I wanted to create every character to be lovable, and also you are able to hate them for the right reasons as well,
yeah,
to
yeah,
judge them for the right reasons, to also question the integrity, to also question who they are as human beings. But I wanted to make sure that I remove myself from the story to be able to write the story correctly.
yes, yes. Okay, so I don't know, should I come up with another question? Because I saw a lady who wanted to be involved in the discussion. So I don't know, should I ask a question or do you want to maybe
Yeah,
answer
she
what?
can ask. I mean, like, they can ask. I'm okay. Let me just see what comments are there before we move on, because there's a couple.
Yeah, yeah.
Unless if you want to read them, because if my name is in it, it will sound like I'm speaking to myself.
Um, okay, I only see like two. My screen only shows two. But yeah, I saw that lady who wanted to be involved in the discussion, and also, well, a friend of mine just Paballo, so hi. But yeah. Anyway, so in the
And I
meantime,
see Say So's, I think it's Say So. She says finished the Cradle of the Hockey Club this weekend in 2 days. Couldn't put it down. Now I'm ready for Ego. I hope you're emotionally ready for Ego, because Ego is Dineo says your approach to the book was good because you do give a full perspective of ladies who are still leading that life. Thank you, Dineo. Also, it is Dineo. She says you're not taking sides. Thank you.
that's my friend. Hey, Oto.
Yeah, so Simpizi says, please involve us in the discussion. Sure. So you guys can ask questions as we go along, and then we'll read and then I'll respond. That's
Yeah.
perfectly fine. Um, and then Nomi says, love Babi's YouTube book reviews. Follow her, Paballo Seipei, on Insta. Yes. There we go. Okay. So if anybody has a question, please ask, and then we'll come back to it after her next question.
Okay. So I have a question from my sister Lisedi Munama, and she says, with everything that's happening in our society, and people are pushing the cold or heartless persona, what would you say to a young lady that wants to get into a blessy situation? It's like those women you just posted. This question is really relevant to what we spoke about earlier on.
I mean, guys, like, for me personally, not even from a professional background, but it's just personally, it's like if one of my sisters said, can you advise me on how to get into a relationship with a blesser? Number one, I would say no. Just being honest. I would honestly say no, because number one, let's look at the opportunity cost, right?
Yeah.
So the opportunity cost of these relationships, obviously, for me, the highest one would be the sexually transmitted diseases that alter a woman's psychological imbalances completely. Number two, the sexual slavery that is placed upon women.
Yes.
When they're in this, I mean, it's a relationship where you have no option, you have no voice, you can't negotiate anything, you can't question anybody, you can't say no to anything. Yes, the first couple of times when you're on a date, everything is like, yes baby, whatever you want, great. Once you're in, but you lose every ounce of humanity.
Yes.
That is bestowed on you. You lose it. Number three, the educational opportunity cost, or the career opportunity cost, is that when this person calls you at any time of the day, you need to be available. This will now restrict your academic advances. Interviews, let's say you want to go to a job interview, they'll say, no, don't go. I'll give you that 3,000 rand, whatever. That is a career opportunity that you could have taken if you were not going to go entertain this man for alcohol and sex and whatever, right? And then another thing that I completely loathe is the mental deterioration that women go under when they're in these relationships. For an example, a lot of Black females in this country specifically struggle with daddy issues, right? Leading into now relationships that are so unstable and they're very unsustainable. You've got daddy issues, you date this person who is obsessive, who is a narcissist, who's a pathological liar, who's a psychopath of some sort. Don't you think all of that will trigger all your childhood trauma, which will escalate how you behave as an adult, and then also how you treat men going forward? A lot of girls don't even understand the spiritual implications of dating older men, especially men who have excessive money or who are in positions of money, and what they do to maintain that type of lifestyle they have. Which comes with a lot of spiritual connotations. For an example, in the South African Black culture specifically, I'm not even going to talk about Nigerian culture and Lesotho culture and Botswana culture, because they sometimes lap and are very parallel in terms of traditional aspects. For an example, a man who has excessive money, they usually use traditional medicine to keep money, to attract money, and to entertain, right? So girls who are very naive, who are very spiritually unstable, who don't even know what God is for real. I'm not even talking about the God where you go to church and you pray, and I mean like real spiritual stuff, right? They know
Yeah.
nothing about that. They go date this man who can provide anything, everything. And this man uses traditional medicine or traditional interventions to empower himself or to get more money. Then they start doing these cults on these girls because of their purity, because of their light and that naivety.
Mm.
Um, and these girls don't even know what's been done upon them, you know? For
Yeah.
an example, because now we were speaking about the YouTube stuff that I was watching. So this girl says in a YouTube video that her sugar daddy or her blesser had a snake in her house, or in his house, pardon
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
And the snake was sleeping with his friend, and and they make light of it as if it's a joke. These things are not a joke. um I mean, I speak about women disappearing all the time, organ sales, human trafficking, and all of these things are connected somehow.
Mm.
So just to summarize on your question as to what would I say to advise young people about sugar daddies, I don't think it's a sustainable relationship. I don't think it's viable career wise. Spiritual wise, it's not viable. Just also for your sexual health, it's not viable.
Yeah.
um because you sleep with these men, sometimes it's multiple men, there's no condoms, you get pregnant, there's illegal abortions in that mix as well. Women already suffer from fibroids and period pains and endometriosis and
Yeah.
all these things that affect the woman's womb that we don't consider when we date people. So I don't, it's one thing that I will never in my life condone, simply because I know and I've got personal experience on how it ends and how it is to be inside. So I would
Yes.
never tell anybody go for it. As much as, yes, at the end of the day, it is a personal choice that you make as an individual as to whom you date. That is a choice. But in
Yeah.
terms of just being a sister, I would never encourage my sister to date a person that is in that league.
Mm.
I don't think it's something that I would ever condone, regardless if it's a personal choice or not. But if you were to ask me personally, I would say no.
Yeah, because in the beginning it's so nice. Like,
Yeah, in the beginning, guys, anything, any relationship, in the beginning, it's blossoming.
it was
Things
so nice
are
when
rosy.
Tim bought Treasure an expensive
Ooh,
perfume,
hold on,
and then
mama. Hold on, mama. Hold on, mama. Ooh, these questions. Comments. Okay, sorry. Guys, I'm just seeing the comments and there's so many of them.
yeah,
Yo. Okay. I'm trying to go all the way back, okay? So Lisejo says, I would like to ask, what was your expectation of the book's effect on people? Okay, I'll answer that. Please remind me. Dumi says, I'm only going to finish Bear now ever since I was traumatized. Ha, to me. Sorry. Lesego says, I think many South African girls are ready to sell their bodies professionally or not. They want the good life, the
yeah,
material, and they are willing to sacrifice for slavery and indignity. Yeah,
mm,
yeah, they are willing. They don't care. Um, I was inspired, and your books really helped me to see things from another perspective. I thought most girls real do you, do work opulence. However, something wasn't balancing. Thank you for sharing. Okay. Matuka Seiso says perfect pronunciation of my last name. Kiseiso, right? Thanks. It's crazy now. People are still disappearing, and Betu has helped me open my eyes and be more vigilant. The streets are unsafe. That's very true. How do you how do you now see Tim? Please rephrase that question. How do I see him now as a human being, or have I seen him ever since? Or you asking how do I now perceive sugar daddies as a whole, using Tim as a metaphor? Please rephrase that question. But let me just answer this part. For an example, if your question is, have I seen him now? No, I have not. I I don't speak to him. I don't have his numbers. Nothing like that. Yeah, but please rephrase your question so that I understand. Not sure how to feel about this topic because I know the blessed life is wrong, but when you are from poverty, no education or further, sorry, inside, using your beauty looks like the only way out. Unfortunately, that's where education needs to really come in. Not even um, institutionalized educations like university or FET colleges or anything, but conversations that educate people so that they know better. Yes, I understand that books are expensive and not everybody's going to read it or will have the opportunity to find them, especially if you come from a poor background. But now these conversations that we are having have to have a ripple effect to the girl who's in a village who has no access to this kind of conversation. That's where now you as a sister or a mother or an aunt who knows about these things, you're supposed to now go educate those who are unable to get the information that you've got. So I do feel like we cannot always blame poverty on choices sometimes, because as adults, it's our responsibility to make sure that we account for people who come after us so that they don't fall into the trap. So you can't now say everybody who is born and bred in poverty does not have information. Adults do have information. They choose not to educate the ones who are left behind. For an example, our mothers fail to educate us about the importance of self-love, about self-dignity, about protecting our virginity, about contraceptives, about dating boys. Those conversations are still seen as taboo, whereas they should be having those conversations to cater for those people who are unable to access books and information and resources and higher learning institutions. Our parents and communities are supposed to educate us at home. So we cannot now give them allowance to step away from their role as parents. They still have a responsibility to guide us. So this is where I say the reason most of these girls fall into the trap when they come to Joburg is because when their parents find out, or maybe they give permission for them to leave the house to come to Johannesburg or any metropolitan city that's bigger than where they come from, they don't sit them down and have serious conversations. Conversations about spirituality, conversations about pregnancies, conversations about sugar daddies, dating older men. What are the implications? What would happen? Even if it's not a conversation where they are saying, be careful, it must be a conversation where parents can say, if you ever come across a situation like this, please feel free to come talk to me and I'll give you advice. Don't feel like I'm blocking you out from having an honest conversation, because sometimes, yes, some parents don't feel maybe you are mature enough for certain conversations, but they must create an environment where when you are growing or you're learning things as life throws them at you, you are able to come back and say, Mom, Dad, this is what I'm experiencing. How do I deal with it? We are not making home environments conducive for positive engagements.
Yes, yes.
You understand? So even if a person comes from a very poor background, the parents are still the anchors of conversation, of healthy conversation. So we must encourage parents to start creating safe environments to have conducive conversations in the household should situations that are beyond them arise, because sugar daddies have been there for centuries. It's not a new thing. Our mothers cannot pretend as if they don't know, because some of our parents were married off into royalty, into different classes in terms of traditional classes. When they say, okay, fine, go marry so and so because their family is well off, they've got a farm, the uncle is educated, there's a police, there's a doctor, there's what. Those things are derived from that history where people were married off to rich families. So they must not pretend as if sugar daddies are prone to us, millennials, as if we came up with this big concept. We
Yes.
didn't. Culture brought up this thing where there was polygamy, there were young girls who were 14 married to 45-year-olds, virgins sold to the highest bidder. All of those things are cultural and systematic flaws that have been here for a very long time. So they must not pretend now, because now we want to date rich people or we want to date old people, as if it's a new thing. It's not a new thing. Our parents were doing it centuries before we did. It's just that they were ashamed to speak about it because the families hid it from the rest of the world. So they must not now judge us as if we came up with this big explosion. We didn't. It's just that it's in the news. Everybody's talking about it. It's on social media. And most probably we flaunt it more than they did. Yeah, we flaunt it more than they did. Whereas they were a bit hush-hush about it. We are like, okay, I've got a guy who gives me money, who buys me flowers, who takes me shopping, I go on holidays. They just didn't flaunt it, but it was there. So they must not pretend as if this is new. So parents need to really live up to their responsibilities.
Yes, that is so true. You just reminded me of this conversation. Once in high school, there was a friend of mine. He made a girl pregnant, but he was older than me, right? And so his granny was like, "Oh, Banaka Chego, what are you having sex? And now you've made someone pregnant, eh? Ing, 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 ing." And then this friend of mine is like, "Yo, Nankonak, I told her, and I asked her, Kantuana, how old were you when you had your firstborn?"
Exactly.
You know?
Let's start there. You were probably 13, okay? Or 14. So don't come here and play Mother Teresa when you are not even a virgin when you married your husband. So, you know, our parents like acting like Kibo Nwele Nwele. You know?
Yes.
Some of them were only married because they fell pregnant.
Yes.
It was just to hide that shame. So they must not act like we are these big sinners, as if we created things. Like, they must be able to respectfully say, my child, I acknowledge that your generation is like this. You guys flaunt your relationships like anything. Like every 2 weeks, you post that would bay this, bay that, my man, what? But they must be willing to tell us the truth and advise us accordingly.
Yes.
And not be judgmental and disrespectful to us as well, because parents are very judgmental and they frown upon mistakes that any young person does. So when I look at, for example, the relationship that my grandfather and my grandmother had, the age difference was 18 years. And when my grandmother got married, she was 15.
Look at that.
So you're marrying a child, which is technically statutory rape.
Yes.
And then she falls pregnant just after the marriage. Yes, yeah, eventually they were in love, blah, 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 and they stayed together for a long time. But legally, it was statutory rape. You were too young to have a child at 15, dating a man that was 18 years older than you. And then here we are dating like people who are 10 years older, 15 years older, and you're like, you're actually holier than thou.
Ow.
Like, relax. Here you are, you were in a polygamous marriage, you were wife number 5. And you're acting as if we're the British whores ever. Like, no, relax. You were actually part of the syndicate of people who were waiting in line. Relax.
Yeah, that is so true. That is so true, actually. One of this judgment thing must just be put aside.
They must stop judging us. They must stop.
Yeah.
Like, this is why we are unable to have honest conversations with our mothers, because they pretend as if their marriages were the greatest thing. They were church goers. Nothing wrong was happening. They were never abused. They were never sexually abused. And here they are acting as if they are Mother Teresa. And I'm like, no, dude, don't lie to me. I would rather you tell me your true life story, so I can tell you what's happening to me. So you can advise me accordingly. But now this is why we get mothers who are emotionally abusive, because they fail to acknowledge the mistakes that they made when they were young people. They also fail to acknowledge the pain that was inflicted on them. So they spew this evilness onto their kids using just verbal slander, to a point where when your mother walks into the house and you have made maybe a small mistake like breaking a glass, you're already so scared because this woman is just so vulgar.
Yeah.
She's always so angry. She's always so
Yeah.
agitated because she's so angry because she has not dealt with her indiscretions when she was young. So she thinks that you're going to repeat everything that she has done because she
Yes.
has not dealt, you know? So I don't like it when parents do that. I really don't. And our parents are so emotionally abusive,
They are. Hey, they are.
and
And
they carry so much burden, and they don't want to even give you honest advice because they have not dealt with their own
yes,
problems.
yes. And that's it.
No,
You
that's not advice.
also joy.
And then
Yeah,
what?
exactly. And we go. We
No,
go there,
man.
you know.
No,
Uh,
they should
I
not
hope
do
that
that.
it would have been better, for us growing up. And when your parent sets that foundation for you, it becomes so easy for you to escalate it to your children. And if she's open to you and you can see what that does to your life, you
Mm.
become so free and you want to do the same for your children. And
Correct.
it's like I'm going to bring in another book, sorry, Dr. T's book. Have you
Mm.
read it?
Mm. You're breaking. Yes, I have.
Hey.
Yes, I have.
Oh yes. And when I did the review, I was saying that we need books like those in our schools, as you've mentioned earlier, that sometimes we blame poverty, but there are certain things that people can do, like our government. They can simply buy those books and keep them to our schools so that our children can have access to it, because our mothers are not open. But
Mm.
that will at least help, you know.
Mm.
And it's it's so it's so heartbreaking that when you on your first period, you can't talk to your mom. Do you know how heartbreaking that is? That
Yeah.
you're open,
Yeah.
that's all for you to come and say, Mom, this is what I'm feeling. I'm feeling very vulnerable right now, and I need you as my mom. And there's your mom saying, you know what? You're a woman now. Don't play with boys. And you don't know what this woman is talking about when she says that. So yeah, our parents are really to blame for how we turn out at the end of the day.
So also, just to add on to what you're saying, so I met a very nice lady yesterday at in Soweto. So I had a book signing in Soweto, and this lady comes to me and says, now this is also to answer Dinel's question of how do we how can we meet our parents halfway, right? So
Yes.
this lady said to me yesterday that her mother is very closed off. She's a very quiet person. She doesn't really speak much.
Yeah.
But she could pick up that there were a lot of underlying issues in terms of their communication, right? They were unable to really communicate well. So she said she bought the books herself. She read the books, and then she said, okay, Mom, I need you to read this book so that we can discuss the book, right? Fine. The mother reads the book. Are you still there? I think I'm losing her. Guys, is it my network or hers? Is it mine or hers, guys? Just let me know. Is it me? Damn. I think it's her. I think it's her network, right? So I'm just gonna wait for her to come back. So basically, the lady said to me yesterday that to bridge the generational gap in terms of communication is really empowering your mother with what you know. For an example, she said this lady, someone, she said she read the books, gave them to her mother, who is a nurse. Her mother's a nurse. Her mother read the books while she was doing a night shift, and then they started having conversations around the topics in the book without now infringing on anybody's personal story, right? So they use the characters to break down themes that they can talk about so that it's not like they are judging each other for anything. So I'm not saying that is the only solution, but I'm saying it's one way of dealing with attacking or dealing with topics that are around social ills with parents. Another way is just having conversations, honestly. Ask your mom how they feel about a thing and have a conversation. Paint scenarios, watch movies that when you're done watching, you're able to discuss a scene and say, Mom, I feel like sometimes you treat me like this, or I feel like life is like this for me. I think sometimes you have to accept that they will not understand it right there and then, and you have to be mature enough to accept that they don't understand what you're going through, but you also have to give them time to understand what's happening with you, because sometimes it's new to them and it's a foreign concept. And honestly, some parents have not gone through what we are going through right now, so they also need time to deal with it. But books are always a greatest source of reference, because you cannot attack anybody, you cannot disrespect anybody in the conversation, whereas you simply refer to a scene or a chapter or something like that. So conversations usually spark from watching a show together, taking a walk and seeing something in the street and you start talking about it, reading a book, watching a movie. But I always recommend that mothers, especially girls and daughters, mothers and daughters should share a book and discuss it. Then they're able to deal with conversation is and when they arise, and they've got a point of reference. So Paballo, you're back. Your network was just a bit silly for a second.
You
So
know,
let's go back to Bear again. Did you have any more questions?
yes. Another says, other wo- a wounded female can take get through her struggles without seeking justification and validation from men.
Sorry, please repeat that.
Are there other ways that you think a wounded female can take to get through her struggles without seeking justification and validation from men?
Your question is quite loaded. You say a wounded woman. Wounded by what first?
Well, I think this is a question that was sent through, but I think for with Treasure's experience, for example, she was wounded, remember, with her experience in the club.
Okay,
So
guys. Okay, guys. Just for a second. Let me smoke, because what I need to say needs me to smoke, because you know I smoke, right? So it's not new to you, and I hope it's not new to my followers, because they must just know this by now. Like,
yeah.
you know, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I want to answer this with the Holy Spirit.
Yes.
So guys, I don't do drugs. I don't do that stuff. So I just smoke this thing. It's not a big deal. It's called taxi. You buy it at a garage or a taxi rank, wherever.
Those
Not
hazards.
drugs.
Yeah.
Eh?
Get those hazards everywhere.
Everywhere. It's not drugs. It's not white. There's nothing added. It's just sniff. Because I
Yeah.
know you people, you start saying things on YouTube and everywhere else. we saw her sniffing something. I think it was drugs. She was high. Yeah, she did this Insta live where she was smoking something. So guys, please relax. Your grandmothers know about this thing. Yeah, it's a cultural thing. You know about it. Okay, it's not like, okay. Okay, what I really wanted to say, because now it's in the way you asked your question, right? Guys, I want you guys to be comfortable with asking straightforward questions, right?
Yeah.
If you're asking about a rape, call it a rape. Don't say it's an incident, it's a moment. It's not a moment. Let it be a gang rape or a rape or sexual assault or molestation, because we're getting into the habit of sugarcoating things because we think people are going to get uncomfortable. Let them be uncomfortable because it is what it is. You can't now say women who have been broken, women. No, broken by what? What are you referring to? Is it emotional? Is it sexual? Is it mental? What is it? So I need you to go back to your question and rephrase it so that it's straightforward. While I smoke.
Yes. Okay, so are there other ways a female who was raped can take to get through her struggles without seeking justification and validation from men?
Okay. That makes sense.
Okay. It's an amonate.
Yeah, then no man kay ultra. Kay ultra.
Hey.
Whew. Okay, cool. Number one, the first thing that I think the specific woman who has been raped and does not want to now start behaving in a certain way where she needs validation from men needs to do. Number one, you need to call a thing a thing. If you were raped, you were raped. Get help for that emotional trauma and the physical trauma that you endure in rape. For an example, I'm going to make an example with me. It took me a while to go see a gynecologist. It took me years to go see a gynecologist just to see how my womb looks like. What are the underlying issues that keep on forcing me to have miscarriages? And I mean, I had a miscarriage and I had an ectopic pregnancy. An ectopic pregnancy, for those who don't know, is when you get pregnant and the egg sort of sits in the fallopian tube instead of your womb. So it gets stuck while it's on the way to your womb to go settle in your womb. So it gets stuck there and it grows there and it eventually erupts that tube, leading to the ovaries being damaged themselves. So the one side of the ovary where that egg was coming from, either from the left or the right. So that specific ovary ruptures, killing all the other eggs that are inside that specific ovary. And it can also cause an infection in your womb where the blood circulation can literally burn or open up your internal acids, the acids that you have in your stomach.
Yeah.
That blood can also go up into your lungs, causing you not to be able to breathe. Or the blood can sit in your womb and rot in your womb if you don't catch it earlier. So when it rots, it creates clots and it starts forming bubbles in your womb, creating excessive pain and all other medical stuff. You can literally die in hours from an ectopic pregnancy because all the blood gets into your lungs.
Yeah.
So I had that. So when I had that, that is natural causes. It's not from a rape or anything. That an ectopic pregnancy happens from natural causes. It can happen to anybody if you're raped or not. It's a natural thing. Sometimes the blood circulation is not good in your system, so it clots and you have stuff and the baby doesn't move where they need to move, a mucus and what. Doctors know how to really describe it correctly, but that's what my doctor said. That she just said that the baby was growing in a wrong place because of positioning and blah, blah, blah. So I had to be operated, and the right side of my ovaries had to be taken out. So I'm left with one side. So when the one side, every time I fall pregnant, I have a miscarriage, simply because when Tim, so I mentioned this in the book that I had an illegal abortion, right? They sort of lasered me in my stomach, well, in my womb, creating a small hole in my womb that doctors can't fix. It has to fix itself. It's not something that an antibiotic can fix.
Yeah.
And it takes years for that to seal. And if it doesn't heal correctly, it also prevents any pregnancy. So every time you fall pregnant, the baby won't grow because there's lack of oxygen and water because of that hole that's inside that needs to heal organically. Nobody can fix it. So for a person who has gone through a rape, they have to go check if they were not damaged in terms of, because sometimes, for example, when you sleep with a guy that has a massive penis, what they usually do is they hurt you in the process. You're thinking, oh my God, that's painful, that's uncomfortable. They actually are hurting your insides to a point where it can cause certain bacteria growing in your womb, especially if it's got an STD or something like that. And those bacteria now prevent any kind of pregnancy. And also, women don't realize that we've got a chemical reaction towards sperm itself. Sperm can be allergic. You can be allergic to sperm as well. Yeah, you can be allergic to certain sperm, certain people's sperm, where you can get a rash or you can get a yeast infection or something like that. Especially if you're sleeping with a guy that does not consume lots of water, it only consumes alcohol and energy drinks and stuff like that. The acid in their body is then transferred through their sperm, which can lead to a lot of infections, especially if they're not treated. That's why I always encourage women, before you stop using a condom, just go for tests to see what's in this person's blood. It cannot always be an STD, but it can be a virus as well that they carry that is DNA related, that will cause a lot of miscarriages in you in the future, because the sperm stays in your body for a long time. So I do encourage women to ask their partners, can we go for DNA testing to see if there are any irregularities in your sperm as well? Also an STD testing to see what class of STDs do you have. Do you have any, or you have some kind of STD that needs medical attention? But women don't look into that. They just sleep without a condom regardless. They just think, oh, you don't have AIDS, so you're fine, disregarding all of the other things that are in a person's blood. Other people have genetic disorders that form deformities in babies, so your baby you can get pregnant, but the baby will be deformed or something like that. So you need to also check into that. If there's any inherent diseases, there's a lot of chronic inherent diseases that you get from a partner. Also, uncomfortability in sex as well causes a lot of miscarriages, because you might think that, oh, the sex was great, but because this person had some type of sex with you and their bloodline or their DNA has a lot of deformities, your baby might come up with brain tumors, the eyesight is not good, their lung development is not good, their bone structure is not good. So you have to look into that, especially when you want to have a serious relationship with somebody leading up to a marriage or a serious commitment where babies are involved. You have to look into that. Things like detecting family inherited cancers and stuff like that is also very important, but that you can only get that done if you do a proper DNA analysis and family tree analysis to see who has cancer in your family, or diabetes or anything like that. But because I'm not a doctor, I can't really give you the specifics of what inherent diseases does sperm carry, but it's something that you can just Google and just see what does sperm carry. That could be a problem for women. But another thing is, women must start accepting that their bodies is their bodies. So if, for an example, you come from a broken relationship, you can't now always think that every man is going to do that to you. You know,
Yeah.
you can't also expect certain type of sex from a specific man because the other man was having sex this way. Now you're thinking you can use your body to entertain him or please him, thinking that he will like it. You know,
Mm, yeah.
um, sometimes you do it for self-confidence or just to boost your ego to say, oh, well, he wants sex, so I'll just give him sex. But at the end of the day, it's your intention that cripples you. Because
Yeah.
if you're just doing it to impress a guy or to keep a guy or so that he falls in love with you or so that he chooses you over the next girl, it only cripples you at the end. Because if he doesn't choose you, what's going to happen? If he doesn't stay, what's going to happen? Because,
Yeah.
I mean, we have had sex for a very long time. There are guys who said, oh my God, your sex is so great. But he still didn't stay. He cheated. He did whatever he wanted. So
Yeah.
it's not a guarantee. So you can't
Exactly.
use that as leverage. You really
Yeah.
can't use that as leverage. If your personality does not keep a man or your character does not keep a man, he's gonna leave either way. So sex is not even uh, a commodity. It's
Mm,
not. You can't say it's an asset. It's not. Because
mm,
either way, you can give a man sex and then he will still go to a prostitute. He will still date slay queens. He will
yeah.
still sleep around. He will still cheat. So
Yeah.
it's a choice that you need to make for your own body. Because how many men are you going to sleep with hoping that one of them is going to keep you? So you
Yeah.
can't now go sleep with 10 men and hoping that, oh my goodness, this one is going to stay because we had good sex. Good
Mm,
sex could be equivalent to one night stand. It's still the
mm,
same, you
mm.
know? That's not a guarantee for a healthy relationship. It's really not. There are people who are in marriages for a very long time and they're like, oh, the sex was great, but he still left. Um, so that is not a guarantee to any solid relationship. Either way, whether it's a one night stand or it's a committed relationship or you're invested in it, if he
Yeah.
wants to leave, he wants to leave. So it does not even matter if he knows your backstory and you're like, no, I was raped. So you need to have compassion. You need to do this. So I'm going to give you sex when I wanted. Nana, he's not going to stay because of your sloppy story. He's not going to feel sorry for you. He's not going to feel compassion. As a matter of fact, it's a driving force for him to say, oh, well, I know I've got you around my finger because you're so desperate to keep me. I will use you as I feel because you're so desperate.
Yes. Yes.
So he will do whatever he wants to do. So
Mm,
I don't think sex should ever be used as leverage. If sex is great, it's great. If it's not, it's not. And also, don't stay in a relationship because you feel like you have nowhere else to go. Um, I mean, like seriously, no. You just can't bargain with sex like that.
yeah. Hey, that is so true. And I can see a lot of people saying, yep, that's true.
Yeah, like you can't
Yeah.
just bargain with sex like that and think that, oh well, he's gonna stay if I give him sex every day, twice a day, every weekend. Men can have as much sex as they want, and as a matter of fact, they will want more to a
Yeah.
point where you're exhausted and you're like, yo, I've had sex all week. He's still cheated. He's still texting people. He's still on Instagram looking at other girls. So it
Mm,
won't stop. It's a personal choice. And
mm,
if the person doesn't choose you, they just don't choose you,
yeah.
regardless of good sex or not.
Yes.
So either
Oh,
way.
yeah, exactly. So, do you think maybe you can check another question there, or should I continue reading this?
You can continue. I just
Uh,
see. Oh, there's one question. Have you ever reported or think of reporting Tim to the police now that you have found your freedom? The question is, what am I reporting exactly? Because most of the time, all of it was consensual.
mm,
You understand? You were
mm,
in a relationship with somebody who enjoyed sex from men and women. That's
yeah,
his personal choice. I can't now report a person who likes having sex. If you
yeah,
read the story correctly, and with understanding, the relationship was consensual.
yeah,
It's just that I didn't enjoy the stuff he wanted to do. Um,
yeah.
so now I can't say because I don't even know what to call him. He's not bisexual, he's not gay, he's not anything, but he just enjoys sex from everywhere. I
Greedy. He was
can't. I can't now say I'm going to report it.
Yeah.
So the question is really reporting what?
You know this character, the guy, I forgot his name now, but
Paul.
the guy who you went to your cousin's place in Bloemfontein
Oh,
and when
Danny.
yes, Danny. You know, I
Yeah.
really that character. Whatever happened to him? What happened to him?
Oh, he just fell off as a friend. Life
Oh my
moved on.
God.
He just fell off.
I really appreciated his effort for trying to talk to Treasure, finding help, getting a doctor. I really appreciated that character so much.
I mean, not all men are bad. I think
Yeah,
that's what you need to learn from the actual story. Not
yeah,
all men are bad. Yes, you've got the Tim Morgans of the world and you've got the Pauls and the Davids, but Danny was a good one. He was
yeah,
really a good one. He was a genuine friend who really had compassion, who was really understanding, who really cared. So
yes,
his character should show you that there are good men with good intentions. So
yeah,
I do feel like he's one of those men.
yeah.
Mm.
Anyways, another question. How would you suggest one deals with abuse from home?
Hmm, that's tricky. Um, Abuse from home is isolated abuse because nobody can see it except you and your parent.
Mm,
Um, and dealing with it, you've got most probably three choices. It's either you report it, they get arrested, and you get cut off from the family automatically.
yeah.
Or
Ish.
you endure it and wait for your escape in terms of your own financial freedom, where you're just
Yeah.
waiting to say, okay, after I study, I leave this family, I cut them off, and I go do my own thing outside of their care and outside of their funding, right?
Yeah.
And then another option is you involve other family members who have a superior position in the family in terms of hierarchy and expose the problem. But
Yeah.
now this will lead to more abuse because we know how abusers think now. If you
Yeah.
expose them, they abuse you continuously because now you're bringing shame into the family.
Yeah.
You are disrespectful. They'll start mistreating you badly. You will sometimes you won't have food. They won't give you transport money. They won't pay for school fees. So they start threatening you with this and that. So
Mm,
those are the only three options that you really have. So
yeah.
it's either you abuse, you endure the abuse until you've got your own financial freedom where you're able to leave and go stay on your own, and then you cut them off, or you
Mm,
report it and they get arrested, and then you know what
mm,
happens after that. The drama happens, or
yeah.
you literally find your own ways of coping because abusers will abuse you until you leave this space. So if you're unable to leave and you can't report it, honestly speaking, in South Africa, there's a lot of young people who stay with abusive parents, but because they don't have the financial stability, they're unable to leave, which
Yes.
is the downfall for a lot of young people.
Yeah.
But those are the only three options. What else is there to do?
Sure. It's so difficult, exactly. Like, how do you deal with it? You are dependent on these people, and if you report them, they might lose their jobs if they are working.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it's so broad, and
It's very broad, so you can't even give a proper analysis without knowing what the dynamics are.
mm,
Is it the father? Is it the mother? Are you the
mm,
only one getting abused in the house? Is it all your siblings? What type of abuse is it? Is it sexual? Is it emotional? Is it financial? Um, so it's very broad,
mm,
and the repercussions also are very broad. So it's either they go to jail, or they disown you, or they continue to abuse you, or you leave the house and disown them.
yeah,
So it's a difficult one.
yeah, sure. Let me see if I have another question. Um, I think you've answered this one. Apart from what we saw as the reasons Treasure got herself into this life, okay, why else do you think people get themselves into such situations?
Well, apart from peer pressure, obviously poverty also plays a role. But the biggest one at the moment is greed. A lot of young people are greedy and they want overnight success and they want overnight recognition and they want an overnight lifestyle where they don't want to work, honestly. If you tell a girl now to go be a waitress and their friend is slaying somewhere on a holiday, they won't want to do it because it's the bottom of the barrel and they don't want to be at the bottom of the barrel when their friend is living a good life.
Yeah.
So they would rather say, okay, fine, I'll sleep with this guy once and he'll give me 5,000 and I'll be fine, forgetting that it's not sustainable. After the 5,000 is gone, they would want the next guy to give them a better life, and then it goes on and on. So greed plays a huge part in it, where you're unable to detect danger because money is the only thing you want, and the lifestyle is the only thing you want, and the pressure of social media makes it more prevalent than anything else. Because when you're sitting at home, we are all on social media now. After the live, certain people go to certain accounts and they go, look, oh my god, she's on holiday, she's doing her nails, she was at a spa, she was in a lodge somewhere, excuse me, she was at this restaurant, you know. And all of those things get into your head and you're thinking, okay, if I just do this once, I'll be fine. And it doesn't really work that way. So it's just unfortunate that hard work is not a priority anymore. Education is not a priority anymore. People think that social media is the only way to make money. Everybody wants to be an influencer, a makeup influencer, beauty or travel influencer, or a tech influencer. And they just think that, oh, well, if I start posting these things, a big brand is going to notice me and I'm going to be famous. I'm going to have all this money. Even the people who are perceived to be famous are actually extremely broke. And we look at them and what they post. And remember, I'm going to make an example with artists or actors, for an example. Actors in South Africa only get 2 or 3 jobs a year, of which the acting gig will have a lifespan of 1 episode or 2 episodes. If it's 2 episodes, or you are in a soapy and you have some kind of reoccurring role, you will be paid a once-off fee for your services. So you've got, if a soapy has about 10 episodes, you'll be paid a lump sum for the 10 episodes. Lump sums usually range from like 15,000 to 40,000, depending if you're a lead or not. So if you're getting 15,000 and you're on this big soapy, people perceive that you are making leaps and leaps of money, of which in actual fact you're not. The real people who are making money are the producers, the people who own the rights to the actual soapy and so forth. We have seen this countless times. However, because of your celebrity status, people think that you've got money, and when you go to your job, they put on makeup on you, they borrow you clothes, the clothes that come from the wardrobe department, and you post in these nice clothes, and your makeup is done and you look great. But in real life, you don't have those resources. You don't have that makeup artist who's on standby. You don't have the extra clothes. You don't drive the car that you drive in that soapy. You don't even live in that big house that you shoot your scenes in. So people in on social media usually perceive that as wealth, to say, oh my god, you're so famous, you're rich, you've got money, you're on the soapy for like 3-4 months, forgetting that it was a contract. You are contracted for 2 months or 3 months, and people are only seeing this thing 4 or 5 months down the line, and they still think that the money that you got paid in March is still there now in October, September. That's why a lot of artists petition about getting royalties and increases and stuff like that because they only get that. That's why you
Yeah.
see now a lot of celebrities are going into endorsements, try to get money through endorsements, whether it be a car endorsement, a beauty brand, a
Yes.
phone, or an association with a company.
Mm,
Maybe if they've got a child, they will go to a diaper company and say, okay, diaper company, can you sponsor my child? And, so
mm,
that's why they are doing that, because they know that their celebrity status require a higher level of lifestyle as opposed to a normal job. If you're working in a catering company, you're working at the bank, or you're a waitress. So a lot of young people see these celebrities and they think that they're making chunks and chunks of money. In actual fact, they're not. They're most
mm,
probably one of the poorest groups of employed people.
mm,
um, so it's actually sad that social media perpetuates these kind of lifestyle as if it's the ultimate career choice. It's actually not.
mm,
It is true when our parents say look for a degree that is actually more stable. It's actually true, because the arts are very fickle. You get famous today and then tomorrow you're not famous and you're not relevant and then the money's not coming in. And with social media, um, it's easy for artists to make and break their careers online. So if you
yeah.
post one small thing, a brand can drop you. You're not getting that income
Yeah.
anymore. They can fire
Yeah.
you on the spot and stuff like that, as opposed to if you're in a corporate environment where you're getting a proper salary, you've got HR, you've got King, what's the other one? Um,
In CCMA.
CCMA, where you can report these things, as opposed to artists. If you mess up online, they fire you on the spot. Um,
Mm, mm,
for an example, we have seen a lot of radio presenters getting fired or suspended for literally uttering something very homophobic. And
yeah.
in that second, they are fired and their whole
Mm,
career is messed up. So
yeah.
that's the disadvantage of the arts. However, if you get it right and you are focused on really building a solid brand or career, you can go as far as there's a lot of celebrities who have done it well, where they have created other brands out of their brand. For an example, Minnie Dlamini created a beauty brand for herself. Bonang created alcohol, and so there's other means of income instead
Yeah.
of that, and you build something so that even if you decide to leave acting or presenting, you still have an income from somewhere else. Whereas with social media influencers, if you stop promoting a certain brand, you don't have an income, period.
Mm,
So it gets tricky in that light.
yeah. Um, okay. So I don't know if I'm imagining this, but were you supposed to do a movie on the
Yes,
book? Is
yes,
it still in the pipeline? What's happening
yes.
there?
It's still in the pipeline, but it's just I can't talk about the details yet. But it's
Ah,
still there. Yeah.
okay.
Lesego is saying we are not concerned about global warming and advancements happening on the earth that affect the future. Everyone is over being a doctor, a teacher, a lawyer, a scientist, only to pay a car installment. Hmm.
Mm.
Hmm. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what that means. I know what you're saying, but I'm not sure how it's relevant to this conversation.
Uh, mm. I also know what she means. Or maybe she means that people easily want quick cash, because they are over being doctors and teachers. It's like she basically saying that going to school is what people don't want. They just want to be rich and famous and own these things without working hard for them. So people are
Okay.
just over going to school, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or she just said this is regarding hard work.
Yeah. I mean, to become a doctor, you need about how many years? 6, 7, 8 years for some people. And
Yeah.
people don't want to sacrifice the 8 years. They just don't.
Yeah.
They just don't.
Yeah, they
If they can
don't.
get famous in 6 months, that's what they will do,
Mm.
rather than 8 years.
And they don't ask themselves if it's going to be sustainable. That's the biggest question, you know. It's impulsive decision making. People will decide today, okay, you know, this gig is promising me this much, and then, you know, what if that's the
Mm.
only amount you'll get for the rest of your life?
Yeah,
You
it's
know.
just that people think that people who put on nice makeup and hair and they speak nice English and they post nice clothes, that they are role models. They're not. You can't
Mm,
you can't you can't you can't say your role model is a girl who posts bikinis every day, who eats at restaurants, who dresses well. What are they modeling for you in terms of the concept of being a role model? Um, what are they teaching you? How are they upskilling you? How is their life story empowering you? How? I just don't get it. That's why I just don't even follow most of our South African celebrities, because I just feel like it's a lot of people who've got social media power, but their influence is not positive for somebody's mental state. So I
mm,
would not regard them as role models of any kind for me,
yeah,
or for my kids or anything like that, because
yeah,
they don't speak the language of education, of hard work, of persistence. They show you what we don't know how they received it. You know,
yeah,
um, it's nice to have 1 million followers, 100,000 followers, and you're posting wine, you're posting champagnes, you're posting that you're doing your nails. But for a child who literally comes out of high school and they're seeking inspiration and they want to learn from you, there's nothing they learn. However, they only feel more pressure to be in your presence. Instead of them coming out of your social media platform or your page with some kind of knowledge or advice or engagement that leads to constructive skills development or educational development, where they can empower themselves even if they are away from you. So
yeah,
I find a lot of our celebrities extremely toxic, um, extremely arrogant in their postings, where you just see that, oh, they just want you to see that they're rich, or sometimes they post their cars and what, and yes, you feel envious and you feel like, oh my god, oh my gosh, my life is standing still. But at the end of the day, you have not learned a thing from that person. You have only inherited jealousy, envy, depression.
mm,
um you don't inherit anything positive. So I don't
yeah,
feel that in South Africa there's a lot of people to look up to. There's a lot of people to be envious of. I completely agree. I can't dispute that, but I don't feel like going to certain people's social media accounts I'm ever empowered. I just leave depressed and envious and sad, and feel like my life is not moving because
mm,
they posting a 4 million rand car, a 3 million rand house, and I'm like, but you're not telling me the backstory of how you worked towards that, so I can't learn anything from you. So it's just sad that that's all we see on social media. It's people who pretend to be successful, but they don't show you and teach you anything about their success.
yeah, sure. Um, so I think we've spoken a lot about the book, have we? Do you think?
I'm not sure. I'm just here for you.
Okay. So I want to talk about the two books after this one we are talking about,
Mhm.
because a lot of people don't know. I've had a question where a friend of mine was asking, so why do you think the book ended this way? You know, and then we touched on that earlier on. But now, these books, can you give us like a synopsis of what they're about so that we can go and buy them?
Okay, so Bear the Cry of the Hockey Club looks into the actual lifestyles of sugar daddies and what they really do to entertain themselves. Because
Yeah.
as you saw in Better Bless's game, you only got to meet the wife and the husband, right? And you
Yeah.
never really knew what the hockey club itself was about. So I go
Yes. Yes.
into great depth of what the hockey club is, what's being done there, what do people do in terms of getting money out of sugar daddies, and how it ends.
Mm,
But it's just the continuation of the actual story, building up towards what the hockey club is. I mean, every scene has a different life lesson,
yeah.
and certain things are explained that were not explained in Bear One. And then Ego is just wrapping up the story leading to how Treasure leaves the sugar daddy.
Yeah.
A lot of people were asking, will she ever leave? How will she leave? Well, some of them were personally also asking me, how did I leave my relationship with the older guy?
Yes.
And
Yes.
I think that Ego explains how she left, how difficult. Sorry, I'm running out of breath. How difficult it was to leave that specific relationship and what it entailed, and
Mm,
also what he did to make sure that she doesn't leave, you know. I
yeah.
mean, earlier on we touched on sexual slavery, human trafficking, sex organs, um, how girls sleep with men in different countries to give money. So Ego really highlights how that export and exploitation works. um, but just to summarize, it's just a continuation of the story, but it gives a broader spectrum of what this type of lifestyle entails.
Yes, because the big question is whatever happened to Treasure. We really want to
Yeah,
know. So,
yeah,
like
yeah,
after
yeah,
that situation with her and Paul in the car, we just
yeah,
want to, and then from then, what happened?
yeah,
Was she?
yeah. So it explains every single ounce of those questions. So you'll
Mm,
get all your answers, I promise you.
hmm, okay, I can't wait actually
Yeah,
to.
so please go read The Hockey Club. Like, it's really worth it. It's really worth it.
Meh.
Yeah, it's really worth it.
Um, oh, and then another thing, I really liked, I wanted to tell you earlier, but the codes and Bible verses on each chapter, how did those come about? I really like this one. Where is it? Um, even when a lion is hungry, it
Oh,
won't
that's
eat.
Batum Ziligas. Yeah.
Don't change your principles just because your stomach is empty.
Mm.
Whew. And then I was like, okay, like every chapter goes with that introduction. How did that come about?
Um, the codes. I think it's just my own personal writing style to open up a chapter.
Mm,
Also, it the codes sort of explains what's coming in the
mm,
next chapter.
yeah.
So you will see as you pick up the hockey club as well. You'll see on the. Let me see. Do I have the hockey club here? Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, the hockey club looks like this, and it's
Yeah.
about 400 pages. It's
Okay.
quite thicker than Bear the Bless's game.
Yeah.
And then in every chapter, you've got these. So,
Yeah.
for an example, this one says Master of the Game. So, most probably, this will speak about who is really the master of the game. Do you think it's Paul or Daphne or Treasure? But you will see as the story unfolds what it
Yeah.
is. And then there are quotes on top of each page
Yeah.
that sort of gives you a feel and summary of what the story going forward is going to be like. What is the tone? If maybe let me see. This one says, how will you be remembered? What does your life cost? Don't be a fool. The only time you actually own is the present moment, not the past or the future. Make a choice. So this chapter is about making a choice. So will Treasure make a choice for a certain thing that's happening in here? Is she really going to be a fool and not make a choice when life is showing her it's time to leave this man. Will she make a choice? And what choice it'll be? So these codes give you sort of a summary or a preload of what could be happening in the future. So you just need to look. It's like literally reading in between the lines to say,
Yeah.
what is the author saying? What could be happening? If she says make a choice, who's going to make a choice?
Yes,
Um,
yes,
so that also brings the reader's own creative imagination into play to say what could the writer be saying in the specific chapter that would warrant this quote.
yes.
Yeah.
Hello, Lebu. My sister just joined us, and my cousin Lishonon. They
Hi
both
guys. Hi guys.
yeah. Oh, my
Who's
baby's
screaming?
my baby is calling me now. She's like, finish up, please.
Yeah. So yeah, so that's where the codes come from. So every chapter has a code that's specific to that chapter.
Yeah, yeah. I really love them so much, they sort of set the mood for you, and you
Yeah.
sort of,
Yeah.
wow, this one is deep. I wonder what's going to happen
Yeah.
next.
Yeah. Yeah, for
Uh,
sure.
yeah, so I really, really enjoyed the book. The style of writing was very nice, and I really loved it.
Didn't you feel like it was too graphic in some points where you felt like, oh, I had to stop here, or you just soldiered on and read?
No, for me, I really love um that graphicness, you know?
Okay.
Yeah, like if you give me the story, if you tell me I was raped, then okay, sharp. But
Mm.
if you take me to how exactly that happened, then I'm like, wow, thank you, because you're evoking some emotions in me. And that's
Thank
how
you.
I with the book.
Thank you.
So especially when you were telling us about the gang rape scene, it was also so poetic. It was so sad, but I
Oh,
really
man.
love how you just unfolded it for us. I really love a descriptive writing. It just it's not a summary. It goes deep, and you connect with your readers, and I think that's what readers love. Don't you when you're a writer, I don't think you must rob your readers of juicy details like those, because that's what makes it so interesting.
I mean, I've looked at the reviews, and I've watched a couple of YouTube videos where people are reviewing the books for different reasons. Other people said, she was too graphic. I didn't feel like she had to go there. It made me feel so uncomfortable. And there are other people like you who were like, oh, okay, great, I like it. Um, but I think over time it's just the type of writing style that I'm more drawn to. I like
Mm,
painting pictures. I want you to see what I see. I
yes.
want you to feel what I feel. If it's a happy scene, you must be happy. If you're sad, it must be a sad scene. If it's a
Yeah.
sort of mild romantic scene, it must feel like a mild romantic scene.
Yeah.
Um, I don't, I mean, I read a lot of novels and from different kinds of authors, South Africans, African authors as well, and a couple of Americans and those people. And there's only one specific type of writing style that grabs my attention. That's why I like reading psychological thrillers, is because you get to use your imagination to a point where you feel every ounce of suspense, if it's suspense, every tear, if the character's crying, automatically you feel teary,
Yes.
because the description of her emotion is so clear that it ends up evoking something in you. So
Yes.
I'm more drawn to that type of writing. Hence, I think I write that way. It makes me feel like I am one with the character that I'm writing about. Um, and also some it also allows you to experiment with your own imagination as a writer when you're able to use words to describe something as simple as water.
Yes.
To see how far you can go describing something as simple as air.
Yes.
Um, whereas somebody else would have just said, oh, it was just cold. But as a writer, you need to learn to take a person into that environment where they
Yeah.
feel the chills, where they feel the heat, where they see how that environment is reflecting on the character. For an example, if you say it was flooding, what type of feelings would this person be feeling? What's happening in that moment?
Yeah.
What is she wearing? How is that weather affecting her clothes, her speech, the way she behaves? And so it just gives you creative freedom to make sure that your readers are one with the story and they feel it as they read. So I'm glad
Yeah.
you like it. I'm glad you like it.
I really do like it, because it really goes down to that conversation we had about our mothers, who summarizes what being a woman is. So when someone reads your book and they see that rape scene and they've been raped, they can sort of put it on paper themselves, you
Mm.
know? Um, so really, as a writer, you can't really rob people from feeling what you are feeling, and what you're feeling, and written on paper. Just it's so mind blowing, and we really, really connect to you, and we want to know more. And so I really appreciate your style of writing, honestly.
Thank you. Lesego says, um, he says, I like that it was graphic. I feel like that's what novels are supposed to do, like
Mm.
movies. It's like so well written. Thank you, Lesego.
So,
Um,
hello. So is one of my friends also. I
oh,
really
all your people
appreciate
are here. Okay. I don't know
engaging.
how to pronounce this one, but it's DZIVHU6, right? They
Mm.
say, because I think it's a female, they say true readers hide or tend to write something they can't relate to. And then Lesego says, I think for South Africa, we are unable to handle it, but there are many books that are similarly graphic. It evokes emotions. Maatle says, for me, I had to stop and feel the emotions. But in J, after a few minutes, I go back because the book just is just hard not want to know what happened next.
Mm.
The suspense. Yeah, phew. I mean, there are people who said it took them 2 days to read the book, even though they were going through the most in terms of the emotional imbalance. And
I'm one.
there are people who said it took them a week or 2 weeks because they had to stop for a day or two because it was getting too much, especially if they were triggered by something.
Yes, yes.
But the person who has the quickest reading record was 16 hours to read The Hockey Club. And they read it word for word. They even sent me this long video describing most of the scenes to show me that they really read in 16
Yeah.
hours. And I'm like, how do you read 400 pages in 16 hours?
I think I'm that person, if I'm drawn to something and I love it, I will just read that book in one sitting, and I don't want any disturbances. If I have food and drinks next to me, I will go on and on and on. And if the hockey club is that good, I think I might do the same thing.
So somebody's asking, what books are we talking about? It's Roots Perspective. So we're talking about this book. It's Bear the Blessed's Game. And the sequel is Bear the Cradle of the Hockey Club. And all of these books are available from Take a Lot, Exclusive Books, CNA, Bargain Books, and where else? Yeah, takealot.com online. They deliver. Exclusive Books also delivers if you buy online.
Yes.
Um, or you can just go into the store, and CNA has copies now, so you can go get it there. So that's what we're talking about. Okay, I'm gonna ask you this question now, but I'm not sure how much time we have left on Instagram before it cuts us off, but I hope it doesn't. Um, so which character was the worst for you? Like a character that you were like, this is just a shitty person. I don't want this character.
Treasure's dad.
Oh my God. Why?
Oh my gosh. I felt like, I feel like he was hurt, but we not necessarily take him through why that came about. So he's hurting the whole family, and now he shot the mom, and we learned that it was a perfume. Maybe she got it from someone else. Mara. The mom was sick. You kick out the mom. No. He was trash. I'm sorry. No, I really, honestly. And I thought maybe, he would come around. We don't see him coming back, maybe reconciling. Maybe we'll see in other books. But
you need to read The Hockey Club.
I have to. I have to because, man, he was trash, man.
And then, which sex scene did you enjoy reading the most?
The last scene. The
very last scene.
Yes. The one near Paul and Treasure. I just feel like, but it's a team sharp. Is that evil? Does that sound evil? But he deserved it, man. Did you see how fuming and raging?
You're gonna see in The Hockey Club how he reacts. Like the real reaction, like the real reaction. And then who was your favorite character? The character that stayed in your heart, except Treasure.
Dintle.
Oh, Dintle.
I love Dintle. She was so bubbly, like she really loved that lifestyle, the lavish lifestyle, the hair. And I really loved how she taught Treasure about the wines and how to behave, sit up straight, your hands on your lap, stuff like that. It was like from a sisterly point of view, although she was teaching her to be bad in this game. But she was so loving and open, She took her in.
Okay, another question is that what things did you learn from the book that you actually use in real life? So what did you learn from the book that you implemented in your own life?
Initially, when I started reading, I think I read the book when it was on PDF and it circulated.
Okay.
I don't know, 2015 or 2016, somewhere there.
17.
Yes. A friend of, she was actually an intern. She's actually the one that introduced me to the book, and I told her, hey, I'm going to talk about the book, and I'm going to send a shout out to you because I was introduced to the book by her. So anyways, I was still exploring wines, but at the time we were just drinking. My sister and I we still do love Robertson. Blue one, is it sweet rosé or something like that? But then I developed a love for dry wines, and well, I left her behind because she likes sweet wines. And when I read that part of wines, I was like, I really love this part, and I want to explore this wine life, And my husband at the time, him and I were just drinking beer. But now, when we're chilling, we'll just drink a pinotage or Sauvignon, and it's so nice that we just buy wine initially.
Yeah.
And then you learn that there's classes of wines and remove wine from the box or when it is again. So yeah, and that's what I really learned, and I love that part actually.
And then what part of the book irritated you the most? Where you were like, I just want to speak to the author and curse her out?
The one thing, and thank God I'm talking to you because that part when in the beginning when she's with the family, the author, you switch from Mrs. Mohapi to Tato or Mr. Mohapi to Tabo. I was like, why are we not consistent? Why did you choose to refer to them as Mr. and then the other time you refer to them as their names.
I think in that part it was where Treasure's mindset changed from seeing them as respectable parents and started calling them by names. So it's like demoting them.
Yeah.
You know, when you respect someone, you're like, oh, my sister, so and so, that is so and so. But when you start seeing that actually they're not as good people, you can't hold them in that high regard anymore. You start calling them by name. So that's where the change happened.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. It's just a cultural thing where if you start, especially in Black culture,
Yes.
when you respect someone, but as soon as you call them Florence, Mamang. I don't, you know, you start disrespecting, you calling them by name.
Yes.
That's when the transition happened. So I'm glad you actually said that. You're the first person to actually spot that.
Really? Well, I'm glad. Yeah.
Yeah, you're actually the first person to spot that specific thing. The transition. Nobody has ever asked me about it. I think they just like, I think they were like, oh, okay, whatever. We get what you're saying. Let's move on. You know, they never really, they never really noticed. Let me see. Vuyo, listen, I don't trust anyone at this point, lol. What are you guys talking about now?
The characters.
Oh, okay. What did you think about Daphne Banda Morgan?
Daphne. You know, I really want to see how her character unfolds because
yeah, so I'm definitely gonna do this with you after you read The Hockey Club again, because I really want you to read The Hockey Club. It's got more sex scenes. You understand what's happening in The Hockey Club.
Yeah.
You understand where the characters are going, where the story is going, how it's unfolding.
Yeah.
You also look into how they actually lure influencers to sell girls, how they use influencers online to sell girls. That's a very interesting concept. But just one last thing before we end the live.
Yes.
What is the thing that really stood out for you? What is the main theme or main message that stood out for you? And one last question as well, just to add on that, because I think it will be a summary. When you were done reading the last chapter, what was the last feeling in your heart? Like the last final feeling when you closed the book, what did you feel?
Okay. The first one is about the theme. Ne? What is it?
What theme stood out for you the most, and what was your last feeling when you closed the book?
Okay. For me, when I read the book, I was like, you know, these characters really need to develop. And the Alex character, Treasure is always talking.
I posted Alex yesterday. You guys didn't see him.
No,
it's in my Insta stories. You guys didn't see. I posted him yesterday. For those who know, they will go watch before it disappears, because I posted it yesterday.
And I was smiling, so
I did post Alex yesterday. Did anybody notice it in the comment section? Did you guys see who Alex is? Like in real life? I posted him. I did.
Here's Alex.
He said he was Alex in the video that I posted. He confirmed it.
But
you guys don't check my Insta stories.
I did. You know, you were in the car, and I thought it was a joke.
See here, but what's about Kiba? Look at the comments. Mahle says I saw. Vuyo says I saw. Manana says I saw him. He was drinking Corona.
Oh yeah, man. You know that.
See, Tuli says yep. I did post them yesterday. I did. And there was a lot of videos that I posted of him.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, I don't know why I'm getting excited actually. I'm getting so excited about it.
Okay, answer my question before Instagram disappears on us.
So yeah, about that, the development of the characters, because now and then she would remember this guy, her love for him. So I really, really was stuck into that. Like I wanted her to tell us more about him and what happened. But yeah. And what is the other question?
And then the last question was, when you closed the book, what was the last feeling that stayed with you?
I was so, I don't know. It was of victory, number one. I was like, okay, Treasure is fighting back because of that scene with Paul in the car. At least she did something. She took her power back, although I knew she was going to get into trouble. But she did something bold for herself. And that irritated and sort of it traumatized Tim a bit, if I have to say, And when I read that paragraph that I wrote, that I read earlier on, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so beautiful. I really love this book and I want to read more of it. So I really am glad that there are books coming, and I feel like I should have had this book now.
Yeah, so now I'm gonna give you time to get the hockey club and read. And I saw that Zama Kizamane Zama said he or she knew that you're a real critic. And that's what I really appreciate. Like a person who will tell the author the truth, to say, I liked this, I disliked that, I learned this, I didn't learn anything. If you didn't learn anything, you didn't. If you didn't like it, you didn't like it. That means I, as a writer, need to write better. I need to research better. I need to upskill myself. I need to learn, and there's always flaws in these things of ours, because we are in the arts. You can't really be perfect, and you can't make everybody happy. But I think the most important thing is that in general you like the story, and I'm really grateful that you actually do. But what is now, this is my absolute locked question, I promise, because now it just feels like it's your interview actually. But I really wanted to also get what's in your mind, just to see where my readers are, what are they expecting, why they didn't like, so that I can improve going forward. Nobody's perfect in this writing thing. I have my own favorite authors where I feel like, oh, this book is better than the other one. Why did you do this? Yeah, I don't like this, but I still like you because you're my favorite, but I don't like this, So I do have that. And I would want you to be honest with your critique of the hockey club and let me know what you really think. I would really appreciate that. Vuyo says, hockey club will traumatize you, sis. Be ready. Yo!
Ready. I am ready.
No comment, Vuyo. No comment. I am leaving her in the hands of the hockey club. I am leaving her there. I am not even going to say drink wine, pray, or whatever, but Vuyo is right. You have to be ready. I don't want to lie to you. It's going to take you on an emotional roller coaster. It's going to challenge your spirituality. It's going to challenge your sexuality. It's going to challenge your position with society and patriarchy and matriarchy. It's going to challenge your outlook on politicians, what you really think about politicians. It's going to challenge how you perceive your own relationships and your own marriage, especially when you look at Daphne's marriage with Tim Morgan. It's going to challenge your friendships, the people that you have around you. What are they capable of? It's going to challenge you as a person to say, how far can I go to get certain things? What are your limits in terms of sex? What are you willing to do to satisfy a partner? And which also takes me back to the question that you asked me earlier on in terms of using sex to bargain with. I mean, that question in the hockey club is exposed more. There's a lot of things that push you to have sex with people and you feel like you're in a corner. But I do feel like the hockey club is it's much more graphic and much more exposing than Bear the Blesses Game. Bear the Blesses Game was a mild introduction. So good luck. That's all I'm going to say. Good luck. Are you ready, sis?
I'm ready.
So, guys, if you don't know what book it is that we're talking about, for those of you who are joining, this is the first book. So if you're looking into starting the series, you buy Bear the Blessed's Game, which is this one. Please screenshot if you can. This is the book. And then after that one, it's this one. And then after that, it's the new one that's called Ego. It's got a book. It's a blue book cover. I don't have it here because everybody who comes here, they take that book specifically. So I don't
Yeah.
have the copy. I need to also buy my own copy so I can keep it on my shelf. Um, Otherwise, thank you so much, Paballo. I really appreciate your feedback. And I enjoy watching your book reviews because then I also pick up different books to read for myself over the weekends.
Yeah.
um Please continue. Like, we need more people who are pro South African authors, who are pro reading, who are pro scrutinizing societal norms so that we all learn. I think a lot of people in this conversation were able to pick up a lot of things, especially if you are dealing with sexual trauma, emotional trauma, family trauma, lifestyle trauma, or anything like that. You're just envious of certain people and you want to know more on how they make their money.
Yeah.
I think also the books will teach you more as you read, and please don't read to only criticize. Read to also understand and learn from the story, because there are people who just read to just bash me personally, to say, ah,
Yeah.
Jackie, you're this, nah. No, read to understand the cracks of the story and the things that you can relate to in the story. Don't just read to critique the person who writes it because you hate them so much, but
Mm.
read to learn so that you leave away learning something. I mean, there are authors that I personally don't like because of what they say on Twitter and other places, but I do
Yeah.
read their stories because their stories are South African stories that are relatable. So it's like when you don't like a certain car brand, but there's one specific model that you like, but you don't like the entire brand because it stands for something else, but you like
Yeah.
it's that type of thing.
Mm.
For an example, I don't like Nike and their story and what they do to children in terms of slavery.
Mm.
But the Nike brand, the shoes are very comfortable.
Yeah.
I think in that way you've got that dual biasness where you like, I like them, but I don't like them because of their history and what they do, but
Yeah.
the product is quite good. So, however, guys, thank you so much for listening to us tonight. It was a very long live. We started at 8:30 and it's
Yeah.
10:30. Yeah,
Really?
yeah. It's literally
Wow.
20 to 11 if I want to be specific. It's 20 to 11, so it's probably 2 hours. So I'm actually very surprised that Instagram didn't cut us after an hour, which is
Oh,
uncommon.
maybe because I was cut off, remember? Oh,
Maybe
but you
I'm not certain. Um, but thank you so much, guys. When you do read the books, please like send me a comment, a review, or just share the book so that other people can see it and can learn from it. There's a lot
yeah.
of young people that need assistance, that need advice, that need enlightening. So I do believe that these books can help in one way or another.
Mm.
Um, Even though sometimes some people are not ready to read the books because they're going through something at that moment, so they will not relate right now, but in the future they will. So thank you so much, Paballo. I don't know if you've got any last words.
Yes, I wanted to say thank you, Jackie, because you're actually one author I know who interacts with their readers. I don't see that a lot, and I really appreciate it because look, you approached me. I didn't say, Jackie, let's talk about your book. You said, let's talk about it. And I really appreciate that so much. And I screenshotted it and I posted it on my WhatsApp. And I was like, oh my gosh, Jackie wants to talk to me. You know, it's so nice that you approach your readers and you engage with them. We really, really appreciate it. And also, I just want to say thank you to my friends and family who stay tuned. Noma, thank you, my friend, who said, please just make sure you look pretty.
But you look pretty either way. I'm the scruffy one, so I apologize. I will make better effort when we do the hockey club. I'll be made up. I'll be made up.
Yeah, yeah. And Lesego, thank you so much for engaging with us. You know, she's also a
Yeah, Lesego was great. I
thank
saw
you.
Lesego, I saw Voyo, I saw and then there was this name that I can't pronounce, which is DZIVHU6.
Yeah.
And then there was
Even
Tuli as well, and Male was here, and Letu was here. There was Zama was here, and Nomi was here. Shoot, there's a lot of them. It's just that the other ones have numbers, so I can't pronounce with the numbers in between.
yeah,
I don't want to butcher your names. Koki was here. Yeah, so I saw a couple of them, but thank you so much, guys, for watching and always engaging.
yeah,
I know sometimes the books are quite gruesome for those of you who have a very soft spot in your hearts and you feel like, oh, some certain scenes are a bit too much and you had to stop. But it was all done intentionally so that you learn something, you know. It is done to evoke different emotions so that when you leave and you're done reading the book, it must leave something in your heart that you will always remember.
yeah,
So I am grateful that you guys are truly supporting, you're buying the books and you're reading. Please pass them on to your family, your sisters, your brothers, because I do believe men also need to read these books. It's quite imperative that they know the impact that they have on women.
yeah,
How Limang Lim Seiso. Seiso was also here. Thank you, Seiso, because I remember the surname.
yeah.
So, but yeah, thank you so guys. There's also a comment, Jackie, this is for Paballo's sister. I want to say I'm glad Paballo introduced me to you and your books. Oh my goodness. Thank you. Like, you guys
Yeah,
make my life very interesting because you're always reading, so I need to produce more books.
yeah. Oh,
um,
I also want to say shout outs to my husband who also when I read books, I always update him and
yes.
he and I will actually call your book Barry.
Bari, yes. Yeah, no, no.
Barry.
A lot of
Imagine
Tswana people and
Barry.
Sotho people barake bari. And I'm okay with it
Hey.
because it is, they say, you know, it's like when you know, when it's story time and you're like, oh, bari ing. Like, you know, I say, bam kuzinyana, bari ing.
Yeah.
So it's okay. And also remember, I'm also Sotho, so I use that dual pronunciation of the book, which is
Yeah.
bear and then bari. And I'm like, oh,
Barry.
we bari le bari. I also use it sometimes, so I'm not offended at all.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, guys. I will save this live. So if you feel like tomorrow you want to watch it
Yeah.
again or you want somebody to watch because there was something that sparked something in you and you want to share it, I'll save it. And then Paballo will let me know when she's done reading The Hockey Club, then we'll discuss. Otherwise, it's good night and God bless for me. Thank you,
Bye.
Paballo, for joining.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Good night.